Now that we're all in one heart, one mind, with all that wonderful music, and there we are, 6 poets sitting around the table, and we're thinking, what if this table could talk?
Because her mother longed for Rampion, because her garden walled a life within, because her birth was traded for a soul, because her father's sin was that he stole, because her beauty soon became a curse, because her years were tainted for the worse, because her hair unfastened brushed the ground, because her braid could wind past windows down, because her voice would hoist an angel's wings, because her singing lured the sons of kings, because her melodies were magical instead, because her prince would sneak in skeins of thread, because her heart was trapped inside a wall, because her promise given caused a fall, because her splendor only gave her pain, because her plan unfolded with her mane, because her tresses begged a scissors snip, because her tongue was boastful with a slip, because her captor prized another's ache, because her lover planned their great escape, because her braids were knotted like a rope, because her exile left him without hope, because her weeping filled the woodland air, because her spirit found him waiting there, because her love unearthed what came before, because her tower never had a door.
Thoughts from a foreign moon whisper wishes across the horizon. Broken hearts remain home to dismissive devastation. In buried burdens I spill. Prayers in palm feed. Reflection, remorseful beauty in coffee beans build. Smile composed of silent screams and expendable nights. I hide all selves in sunset. Alone. I weave thoughts together like quilts. Wondering when a place will feel like home, when body will belong, when he will love me, when you will love me, America. I try to unlearn anger, but as time slips into afterthoughts and faded songs, jagged words and damaged pride move across our bodies, beating on ears like drums. I told them the revolution will not be televised. I told them we are out of time. He will come for you too, and as uncontained self unveils in undeclared truth, I tangle with small revolutions and inner conflict. But beware, beware of a woman with a broken heart for rage, demolishes her existence in mere seconds. The sound of mosaic heart shattering into 1,000 pieces becomes a record that just won't skip a beat. And as these words pour out of my fingertips, revelations bombard this space. The conflicted storm rumbling in my stomach suddenly stops. But see, I Guarantee you already forgot I was dancing with small revolutions. See, the revelation is that I am a revolution. See, this broken-hearted woman be woke. This broken-hearted woman fight world, fight self, learn self, love self. This broken-hearted woman see more, say more. She runs shit and wages war. She hides behind metaphors and rejects lies. She reminds you of how little black boys get got because the cops got scared and fired a shot. She reminds you of how black men get got because the cops got scared and fired 20 shots. She reminds you of crack epidemics and how Flint was forgotten as soon as a hashtag wasn't in it. She reminds you of search and seizure, of how lives are being destroyed for leisure. She remembers the science behind her magic. Casts light on shadowed truth, loves heart. Remembers to make body home, remembers to love, remembers to forgive.
A great poet once wrote, "The poetry of earth is never dead." And I take that to mean that life continues. Yes, it goes around and it comes around, and poetry is not dead. The next generation of poets, right here at your fingertips, our newest young lady.
Puppies by Eliza Marie Talley. Puppies are so popular, so cute. They are perfect, particularly as a gift. You can teach them treat-earning tricks. They are furry and funny sniffers. They are cute when they lovingly lick their pretty paws. They can make you faint with their adorable faces. They can be clumsy. They like to chew your cheesy shoelaces.
Dreaming about a girl like you for as long as I can remember. So much so that I lose my temper when I see your confidence bruised. There is no cure for the curse of feeling worthless in a life that looks like an overpriced art gallery, but I'll tell you honestly, I don't need to press my nose to museum glass. If you ever asked, I would Van Gogh anywhere with you. I would Picasso you out of a lineup. I would be the first to sign up to Monet your worst day into a watercolor pond that you would be so impressed with, you'd have to double take just to make sure I wasn't an impressionist. I'm no perfectionist. But I know perfect when I see it. And I swear to God that I've never seen anything more beautiful than your ugliest days, than your hardest moments, than your weakest mistakes. So stop stapling I'm sorry's to your footsteps when you walk into the room. Stop pouring kerosene on your smile and letting your laughter go up in flames. You are goddamn insane if you think that you are anything less than a collector's best masterpiece, the one that makes the Mona Lisa buckle at her knees and say, I'm gonna give this bitch the side eye for centuries. Listen to me. I know what you're thinking. How could a girl who wears the same pants for a month without washing them know shit about crossing from a disheveled life to one that's clean? But I'll tell you honestly, I don't give a damn about doing laundry because life is supposed to be messy. Life is supposed to test me, and I don't need a number 2 pencil to set me straight. My mom always taught me that the truth meant never saying checkmate, but I always thought that the truth meant throwing your chessboard in the air and saying this can't be right because the truth is never black or white. So let me be gray with you. Let me say to you that I know you don't think you're worth a losing lottery ticket most days. I know you curse your own parents for not using a condom, but if you and I can understand one truth, it's that things break, like your back under the weight of all that self-doubt you're carrying around. But I have found that there is nothing softer than barbed wire in the hands of someone you trust. So trust that even though there isn't much I can do, I swear that for you, I'm gonna turn this life into a glow stick rave. I'm gonna save the last dance for you, and the first, and the awkward middle one where you're too sober to keep going and too drunk to stop. I'm gonna pop open a champagne bottle of constellations for you. I'm gonna disco ball the sun for you. It's the least I can do. Because you are every metaphor I've never been able to write, but you are wrong about hiding that birthmark of self-doubt under your sleeve, because cover-up is for Barbies and you are too real to dream in plastic. Life is elastic, meaning you're gonna get stretched to the limits, but you will always bounce back. I know that right now you're keeping track of days you have left to live. I know they are selling reasons to give up on eBay, but my 15-hour layover in Chicago taught me that it's not easy to stay. That it's tempting to skip the waiting room and outrun the distance, but for people like us, living is an act of nonviolent resistance. And on the days when you put an ivy of hope into your arms and you still can't make it, I want you to channel the worst sex you've ever had, make like an orgasm and fake it, because this life is yours and you better take it no matter how hard it gets. I swear you're gonna make it. You don't have to listen to have the shit I have to say, but I am gonna love you so fucking fiercely that you learn how to love yourself one day.
Yeah. Since today is Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day, I'd like to read a poem in honor of all the men and women who spent time in the military, keeping our country safe. I'd like to dedicate it to my father, who was a vet in the Korean War. Handful of stallions at twilight. For my father, Army Corporal 7 Ordnance, Korea, Golden Gate National Cemetery, Plot 2C. Thoughts on what was left behind. The memory of a house full of mourners and my aunt as she opened the freezer saying, "Be strong for your mother. Here are dinners for the next 100 days. Your old dog Blackjack, who slept on your favorite pillow and died in aloneness after 2 years of waiting. I still remember the hollow in your eyes, how shadows lurked in a haze of brown. What voice must have said, 'There's no more happiness. Surrender and take this handful of pills.' They say heroes die in the battle. Do some face the enemy once they've come home? And where are your medals? Your ribbons of honor for winning a war? Here, this souvenir, this American flag that covered your casket while buglers played to the sound of taps the day you were buried. I've saved your drawings, your pictures of stallions, and notes that you scribbled, a jumbling of thoughts. Did you write the answers on the bark of a tree? Will it one day rot, too weak to stand, and fall onto itself on the cold earth, its canopy of leaves splayed over ground, your sadness removed, where a cluster of dandelions rise wild and free? Who will know the sorrow that came to you? Or was it joy? A vision of angels carved from stone, a golden gargoyle adorned at the gate. When I found you, your cheek was still kissable, skin the shade of water and sleep. But too much time had passed to save you. What life was so eclipsed by grief, death became a wanted thing. Was your last good night an escape or an apology? Did you see an opening through a pinhole in sky, a path beyond dark to moonlight? Maybe you hoped someday I'd follow. Was death so sweet a promise, no daughter could call you back? In my dreams, your horse gallops on the meadow, the one you drew from a black and white sketch. Sometimes you're the rider, sometimes there's just a horse.
Heaven is a place where stars are hidden in heartbeats, where promise meets prayer for the first time, where rhyme and rhythm are the only alarm clocks you'll ever wake to, where God spends hours each morning ironing out the wrinkle in your brow, making sure you know just how goddamn beautiful you are. My grandmother used to tell me that heaven would be a world where people were good enough to each other, that we didn't have to wait for heaven to make it through life. I don't know what your version of heaven looks like, but my guess is that it looks something like 2 weeks after 9/11 in New York City. An attempt to make hell look pretty by wrapping corpses and American flags, fragments of people floating like confetti through the air, swearing death is never a celebration, but waging war the next day like patriotism is a party hat and you wear it so proud. I've never met your God, but I think I saw his feet dangling from a cloud with a loudspeaker that only played Fox News, building constellations out of bruises and scrapes, sporting a camouflage cape and a Make America Great Again cap. He slapped me on the back with his Bible belt, then felt me up like I was his arcade prize. His eyes were so much darker than any genocide I'd ever read about. You see, I've read about your version of holy, but show me how you squeeze anything sacred from the barrel of a gun. Show me one good thing that comes from the battle of Bible versus love. Show me what you know about love. I don't know what your hell looks like, but my guess is that it looks a hell of a lot like bowing down to a man who stands for a world that looks like Monopoly, where getting out of jail free only happens if you have the right color skin, where we rescind the rights that left us uncomfortable, where we are comfortable living in a world that is children holding bullet shells to their ears, but they can never seem to hear the sea, so they hopscotch down minefields and stare down the barrel of a gun like it's a kaleidoscope, and hope is just on the other side. Mothers hold babies like butterflies, torn between keeping them close and wanting to send their ghost to a better place. We trace God's thumbprint like a map strapped to an M16. You haven't seen hell until you've seen how well children can paint with blood like watercolors. Watch promises crumble into prayers. Watch blood kiss wine and swear it'll do better next time. You swear we'll do better next time. But this isn't the kind of mistake you can take back. That vote isn't the kind of sin that can be confessed in some confessional booth, because the truth is, justice can't breathe behind closed doors. So tell me, what was Hiroshima like after the war? Did Agent Orange pour itself out of the bodies it poisoned? Did the toys in the hands of dead children get played with again? Was the wind enough to silence the scream? Did the grief disappear from mothers burying their babies in shoe boxes? Did the toxic air still catch the edges of kites? At night, is even the moon too ashamed to show her face to America, the brave, America, the free? You see, my grandmother used to tell me that heaven is a place where stars are hidden in heartbeats. I hope your heaven still has beating hearts, so at least we have stars that we can keep wishing on.
2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4, up. When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll But sometimes Johnny doesn't come marching home. War, a thing of nature, of the ages. War, what is good for? And the song says absolutely nothing. It's good for nothing, good for me or for you, but for some people, war is great. And we're the ones, the Johnnies, who go marching and never come home again. And not just the men and the women. You know, there was sometimes back in the day when misguided women thought, we want to go to wherever, we want to go to war, you know, it's like the cruel war is raging. Johnny's gotta fight I want to be with him day and night. Oh yeah, she was in love. Well, actually I think she was kind of in lust. You know. He had to go off to fight war, and she goes to the captain and says, oh, I want to go to it. He says, oh no, you're abroad, you can't go, you know. And finally, she is so in love, she dresses up as a soldier, as a man, and she goes off to war. And I'm sure you know nothing good ever became of that. But whether it's our men, our women out there fighting, the ones who perished on a day, December 7th, all of this, some of this, will be forever etched in our memories. And like Carolyn's dad, who again came home, he didn't march home, he dragged home and killed himself. That's sad. But this is just a remembrance of the brave men and women of this country who go out to fight for others, other causes, misguided causes, some of them. And for them, we say, thank you.
Now I'm going to introduce Jalea, who's going to read her own poem.
In the silence of the mist, scurrying in the shadows, lies a black kitten, small and miniature, playing in the stream where its always overflow. In the silence of the mist, running in the distance, lost in twigs and leaves, the kitten lies peacefully on its silent paws, wondering about the creatures untold.
I've been thinking about the moon, about watching darkness bloom into day. I've been thinking about the way we used to stay up all night. I'd write you poems in the sidewalk in chalk, and we were afraid to talk about being in love with anything other than the moon. I've been thinking about the sky and how God must have cried for days to get that shade of blue. I wonder if you still believe in God, or if you think that most miracles are just blue dye number 2. I wonder if you ever think that about me. Because honestly, you wouldn't be alone. You'd only have to pick up my phone to know how many people I let down every day, which is to say, I'm trying to do my best, a little bit better. I'm writing a love letter to my future self that includes a watercolor map to all my wildest dreams. I want to rip apart the seams of my never was and never will be wedding dress. I want to press every flower I never gave you into the pages of my poetry, and this time I want to save them for me. Because we're never wrong for each other. But we were never right on time either. I'm a big believer in letting go, but I don't know where you are these days. I've been skipping rocks off the stars these days, and they keep coming back, so I can't keep track of all my wishes, which is to say I've been thinking about you these days. Been searching for your name in the stars, remembering that from far enough away, a ball of fire can look like a lullaby. It makes sense why we could never sleep alone. I've been answering my phone in the middle of the night, even when it's not ringing. I swear to God I can hear you singing from outer space, which I once read is a place that sound can't travel. I wonder how many melodies unravel on their way up to the sky. I know it's a sin to admit, but a world without you in it has no music. I wouldn't choose it with a gun to my head, but you had already fired, and I was so tired of practicing my goodbye in the mirror. It's a shame my tears can't create a sky. God should try falling out of love with you sometime. I bet even she couldn't do it without a couple bottles of wine. I swear to God I'm trying to keep it together while letting go. I wonder if trees know that photosynthesis is a process that exists even when your branches are stripped naked, like every living thing is creating, even when it's breaking. Like, take for example, me. I'm still breathing, aren't I? My heart's still pumping blood, even though it's broken. My lungs are still choking down air, even though my teeth are clenched. It's just self-defense. Staying alive, I mean. Because I've been thinking about the earth and how lucky we are to be passing through at the same time. Fucked as it may be, there's no one else I'd rather find myself in hell with than you. I've been thinking about the moon. And how soon its fullness will skeleton into a sliver I've never known hollow to be so whole. I'm a whole lot softer on myself these days. I'm finding new ways to look at my flaws like through a kaleidoscope, remembering that hope can be found in every broken thing, remembering that not every broken thing needs to be put back together. Forever is a word we always made fun of until one of us wasn't laughing. I was never asking you to stay. You were never asking me to stay. I was only saying that just because you're gone doesn't mean I can't keep finding you. In every coffee ring and sidewalk crack, in every crushed pack of American Spirit tobacco I still find stashed in my backyard next to every Valentine's Day card I never got to write but always dreamed of sending. I've been thinking about our ending and how I never wanted to call it that. But I once read a fact that every year the moon moves a little farther away from Earth, giving birth to new stars in her path. The moon never asks the Earth to stay. The Earth never asks the moon to stay. They understand that space is a natural part of growth, and so they both let go. You know, every time I'm thinking about the moon, I'm really thinking about you. I wonder if you're looking at the moon tonight. I wonder if you wonder if I'm looking at it too.
Well, you know, this is the wonderful thing about poetry. It's so much food for thought. Apart from all the really fancy words and the crafting of the poem, you know, doesn't that make you think? Yeah. Well, to get you out of the thinking mood, we're going to play a little music. Because as you all know, I'm Black Irish.
We untangle lips, speak exclusively in our truth, digest sunset and spark curiosity when existing in our truth equates with daily combat and habitual pain. Sirens use flickering lights to illuminate a sullen smile and godless attitude. When we are forced to create something out of nothing, we call it magic. Move mountains, part seas like ghosts guiding our spirit, we rise with vengeance, unveil battles that should not belong to us when shattering hearts becomes an art form. We mourn mosaic shadows. Dance and heavy rain we call home to indignant words hotter than 1,000 suns melt moons, teasing tongues of uncertainty. They gave me 40 acres. Took it back. Retracted statements that once gave us a voice, told us to move bodies past boundaries that have always felt like home, peeled identity off like snake does skin, devoured bodies, asked for our culture, flocked like vultures, carefully held palms out, smiled nicely and moved on in blissful ignorance. So I conjured old souls with piercing dialect and unforgiving heart. Lost consciousness, found myself setting fury to freedom. They gave me 40 acres, took it back, asked why I was angry. I told them I wasn't. I told them I was far past that. I reminded them that I was still the fucking fire. I suddenly became an open book. Is this not what you wanted? For black women to become undone, to become a little more Malcolm and a little less Martin, to become inviting fresh hope that cautiously carries your footsteps, to be loud, to be aggressive, to fight self, to hate self, to hide self, to affirm identity that was never mine to begin with. Is this not what you wanted? Full lips, jazz hips, coconut curl, brown skin, timeless beauty, movement like small miracles manifesting in the most desperate hour. Is this not what you wanted? For me, black woman, to inherit hollowness, to inhale hate. Truth is, my body be the epitome of alchemy. Truth is, we never wanted your 40 acres, only our voice, only our respect, only our dignity, only to matter, only everything you've ever taken from us. Truth is, we never wanted your 40 acres. They were never yours to begin with. Death of us. Be the morning of twinkling stars and flickering hopes. Be the indoctrination of rage and shipwrecked hearts. Or maybe this poem is a coded confession. A discussion that's been held captive between subliminal messages and faded days. We swayed between past lives and future frequencies. Manufacture artificial goodbyes that never seem to fit well. We fall again, find refuge in possibilities, in tightrope prayer again. Search for a solace in a love that should not belong to me but does again, yet you are. A lost thing. A lost thing I cannot afford to find. You become a tiny earthquake, me a concrete grove. Certainly this will be a beautiful disaster, mostly disaster, but sometimes beautiful. We become martyrs for synthesized happiness. Endorse the elephant in the room that stays far beyond its limits of comfort. This poem be the death of us. Be a game of Russian roulette, be a trigger and bullet to the head, be bleeding ink, no filter. Be the way I chase your wandering mind, be exhaustion. This poem be the wrath that molds mountains into volcanoes. My teeth become knives, razor sharp, ready to retaliate, but my tongue still carries your name like damsel does distress. Words tumble out of my mouth like water does monsoon conflict. Canvases our bodies. Creating friction I oftentimes mistake for chemistry. These days, I find myself creating tsunamis in hopes of washing you away. I tried to sit softly in still morning air, but couldn't. The memory of your static songs and smiles wouldn't let me, so I unlearned you. Even if it were temporary, I unlearned you. Built walls, decorated room with affirmations and unfinished poems, talked myself out of leaping across boundaries that have always been disregarded by fate. But the reality is we were destined to be a beautiful disaster, mostly disaster, but I swear, sometimes beautiful. And as I stare at the sullen sky, the only thing I can think about is how beautiful you are and what a disaster I've become and how much I love you, but how much I hate that. You know, you're gonna be the death of me. That's a good one. Speak out. Yeah, that's a good one. Luna's every third Friday has a slam. Every third Friday. So if you you'd like to say some words like what Grace and I are doing.
Yeah.
On my good days, I am a poet. Like, I can drive my car straight off a cliff and slow it down just in time to write a rhyme to remind myself that there is still time to find the magic in this life. To remind myself that there is still a reason to write. Even when everything around us shouts wrong, there is still music to be made even when there's no song. On my good days, I am a poet. I am the daughter of Whitman and Dickinson. I have thicker skin than even Tennyson knew a woman could have. I have more Edgar Allan potential than you could shake a dictionary at. I am seated at the right hand of Langston Hughes and Maya Angelou. Pablo Neruda taught me how to count stars. William Shakespeare taught me how to count bars. Sylvia Plath taught me how to turn scars into writing, how to turn rain into lightning. For every Ezra pound of poetry I carry in my blood, it makes sense that on my good days I am a poet. All of us are. Every shooting star is just a wish waiting to be made. Every tree trunk is just a guitar waiting to be played. Every unwritten poem is just a poet waiting to be saved. Some days are harder than others. Most days, I want to pull the covers so far over my own head that I am finally tall enough to reach my own expectations. Some days, even creation feels like a whole lot of bullshit. And I guess that's when it matters the most that I keep writing. Because the anarchy of poetry is still to write. Despite our words being burnt at the stake, the rebellion of art is to create chances out of thin air, to turn somehow into somewhere, to staple our hearts to the electric chair. Consider it prayer or penance. But poetry has saved us, and now it's our turn. Because I don't ever want to mourn the things we never said, like, have you ever made love to a poet in bed? I once read they always quote the same literature. I'm pretty sure it gets cute after a while. I hear they smile at all the wrong times and that they snort lines of poems straight off your chest. I hear they kiss your breast the same way they write, like they might die if they don't. We might die if we don't write the poem. I'm gonna show them. No matter how many times I come up dry, I swear I won't stop diving for buried treasure. I know it's in there somewhere. And I've got a metal detector for a heart, which is to say I'm going to start calling myself attractive. I'm hyperactive in bed. Like I once read 3 books cover to cover in one night. Ran my fingers down their spines until our pages intertwined and we climaxed. I haven't relaxed since. I wish I had enough time on this planet to never take for granted a single butterfly wing. Or how the uncaged bird sounds when she sings. There are so many things to fall in love with, and I just want to do them all justice. My heart may be busted, but it's beating. My body may be tired, but it's bleeding. We're all just healing in one way or another. And I can't help but wonder if the thunder ever gets tired of being blamed for storms. It's just warning us, y'all. Look around. The trees have already fallen and no one bothered to listen. We should be kissing the sky every morning. Every morning the sun is writing sonnets with her rays. Every morning the ocean plays piano with her waves. Every morning we are saved by poetry. And there aren't enough good days to make up for the impossible, but I'm digging up hope like fossils until I find it in my own bones. I'm searching for faith in strangers until I find it in my own poems. I'm making wishes on cigarette ashes until I can make them on shooting stars, because on my good days, I am a poet. On my good days, I am a poet. All of us are.
Grace didn't do is introduce herself.
hear that.
Yeah, so, she needs to do that.
Sure, she
Tell
can.
them who you are.
Yes, yes, yes.
You're young, rich, and famous.
Yes, thank you. I'm so sorry. Shout out to Miss Angela. My name is Grace Loescher. I'm young, poor, and famous. I'm thrilled to be here tonight. This is a beautiful show. Give it up for the ladies of the night. Amazing. And what I'm supposed to say here is why I write poetry. And I do believe we are all poets. I do believe we are all creators. We are all artists. And I'm so privileged to get to be on this stage. Poetry for me is a life-saving practice. It's how I get through the shittiest days of my life. It's how I celebrate the best days of my life. It's how I build family, how I build community, how I meet amazing young people who are going to take over the world one day. I believe that. Yeah, and I believe that poetry is a life-saving practice. I'm super blessed to be here, and I'm just as blessed to be sharing as I am on the days when I'm listening, so thank you all for listening tonight. Shout out to you all. Bless you.
Hi, I'm Emma Eliza Marie Tilley. I was born in Newburgh, Indiana at the Women's Children's Hospital on July 23rd, 2007. I've been to 5 schools so far, 2 in Evansville, Indiana, 1 in Raytown, Missouri, and 2 in Sacramento, California. My favorite poet so far is my mom, because she has poems from when she was in high school, like spoken word. I like poetry because I can speak in my confident voice. Thank you for having me. This is a beautiful sunflower too. There is one thing about flowers that remind me of you. Pretty as can be, flowers that can sing, with voices so sweet. When they've been watered, they'll sparkle like bling. Still roses are the best, they remind me of my Nana. They are beautiful like her. God bless, rest in peace. I miss you with all my heart.
The reason I like poetry is because you can take a simple thing just like a plant, a person, or a thing and turn it into a poem. Another reason that I like poetry is because you can take something like a poet and you can learn more about the poet. And the same thing for a poem. You can take a poem and learn about the history of that poem or what that poem means. And I have a poem.
Let's go.
Hold fast to love, for if love disappears, life is a sad, loveless kitty that cannot hear. Hold fast to love, for if love goes, life is a sad world destroyed by crows. And I have another poem based on the poem Fog by Carl Sandburg. The unicorn comes wearing glittery pink shoes. It gallops peacefully over clouds and rainbows on silent hooves and then trots on.
Hello everyone, I'm Carolyn Stevens-Negrellis. I'm a narrative lyrical poet. I write about family, love, loss, life. My friend Wendy always says I'm a poet of the personal. I read once somewhere that Billy Collins said, writing poetry is like writing in a diary that you want someone else to read. I think that's true. I'm going to read my first poem here, this section from my book, Epitaph for the Beloved, and Mark is going to play along with me. Epitaph for the Beloved. How small we are in the midnight hour, nameless, yet forever blessed by moonlight, lost through shadows of eternal homelessness. How unwary to the greatness within clouds, above the hovering hands of heaven. Innumerable wayfarers, bystanders between stars and mortal chaos, where no lone prayer goes unanswered, where numberless await the grace that powers love, past breath, and living through death. How once the hours lingered, their nimbus of time, when we were young, lest the future would never come. Impatient children, unaware of intervening distance, while every day nearing the keeper of souls, where true holiness must surely be, where the everlasting unravels this mystery, where soon we will meet again at the right hand of God in lightness without dark, vast as the breath of a merciful heart.
This next poem's a real one, so there's some strong language, but it's very purposeful. It's very purposeful. He called me a nigger. The other night he called me a nigger. He called me a nigger, told me to go back to where I came from. Says there's no room in a place like this for monkeys like you. Repeat several times and witnesses said nothing. They just stared. They just stared as he called me a nigger, but while syllables once submerged in contemplated sin stammer across the black hole in my mouth, jaded words dangle around my neck, not like a noose, but more like a polished pearl necklace tempting tidal waves of black woman rage. I use moonlight to sculpt shadows. Mold memories I'm too afraid to bury into sanctuaries. I move words like displaced electricity. I peel my history out of margins. Remind the constellations of their glory, hoist the cosmos upon my shoulder, but while subtleties chase the whole towards my melted mouth, burnt butterflies bellowing in belly dance to drums of liberation. But he called me a nigga, he keeps calling me a nigga, and has the nerve to ask how I move so well. How I sway like jukebox jazz and dance like the moon. He asked why anger calls home to my heart, why I don't wear a smile more often, but I set flames to all subtleties. I reply, I say they worship hollow idols and praise law like a god. Blue shields use the heat from their still guns to still souls, still bodies rest on surface, still bodies are being collected, still bodies are being counted, and silence fills mouths. But while silent symphonies once rehearsed in melanated tones becomes undone, this poet speaks. I speak on being black and woman. I speak on being a black woman. I speak on how I'm never sure on which one to prioritize. I speak on the days I feel pretty. I speak on the days I don't. I speak on barbed wire bats, on whiplash paths. I speak on my ancestors' spine bearing stories no history book cares to share. I speak on suspended truth. I speak on Wheatley, on Angelou, on Davis, on Douglas, on Pac, on Pete Rock. You better speak, poet. Consciously cradle your sins as if your life depended on it, because it does. Remember, they will try to break you. They will call you a nigga. They will keep calling you a nigga, but you better speak, poet. Even when your heart breaks, speak. Even when words cling to the tip of your tongue, speak, poet. I won't lie. There are days when I let hate house my heart, when I wonder how we could share a planet but remain worlds apart. I wonder how you could keep calling me a nigga.
Daffodils, as they moon their way in radiant yellows, pristine petals trumpeting grace, warmed by sun among all creatures wild and small. Where we are one, where we are all, praise every saintly thing on earth.
Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Prayers the wild grasslands rising near heavens, through temporary space, moving soft clouds, their shrouds in easy dawning light, where every wish from me to you comes true. Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Prayers for each heart within a constellation's ring. I'll write a song for you today, and I'll sing it till it vibrates goodness everywhere, knowing God is here, knowing God is there. Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Prayers for a harmony and a choir of angels, intimate as hands that brush an eyelash from a face, or a dream where secret gardens dance and everyone is blessed beyond infinity retraced. Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Prayers for unity and divine completeness, the rivers, the lakes, the sea, and even me, ramshackle broken body with hope for all life and a better destiny. Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Praise every single thing on earth.
Prayers for beauty as it thrives over valleys and hills, where flowers unfurl, ours to share, where love might flourish in the tiniest breath of every child while we're alive. Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Prayers for a star that marks our place of birth, where highlands are full of blossoms and evening bells chime, where our spirits will rise above each wrong to do what's right, where you'll put your hand in mine. Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Praise every single thing on earth. Praise every saintly thing on earth. Praise every saintly thing.
Praise every saintly thing on earth.
Just to give everybody time to breathe and think about what you've been hearing all night. We are ladies of the night. What started off in jest turned into a 6-venue tour all out of town. We traveled far and wide. We went to Turlock. Yeah. I was getting all up there. Okay. Oh yeah, Placerville. They almost hung me in Placerville. My poem is a dance, twirling on metered feet, anticipating the rift of the jazzy offbeat. My poem is a sound of joy resounding in the air, echoing forever so that all can share. My poem is a cry of pain as it struggles along, unable to decipher why its words are wrong. My poem is a sigh of unformed verse, creating a trail in the universe. You know those chemtrails? Yeah, the people who wear the aluminum hats see all the time. Yeah, well, somebody told me they saw my poem floating in one of those chemtrails. I don't know, because I tell you, and I'm still looking for this. Looking for this poem is not easy. But one day I caught up with I think it was I caught up with Mr. Poem. Guess what? My poem went to sleep. Yeah, My poem went to sleep. It grew tired of waiting for release. It had sung, lolled around, twisted itself into every configuration, scrabbled words, tossed sound in a sea of jumbled emotion. Yet, couldn't find the key to unlock that door to that visceral retreat. My poem, my Mr. Poem. My poem scratched his head, turned down the sheets, and folded itself into bed. And that's the end of it. Really.